my guest today, Jason Donovan. And as I hugged you today, I really mean what I say. You are you're my favourite person in the industry, and always
Gaby,
have been.
Very kind. Likewise, we have a big history.
A big history, and I'm gonna. So I'll just remind you, your very first TV show ever was with me on Motormouth.
Motormouth. I was going to say Motormouth. Yeah. That trip from London down the motorway
to
Maidstone.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Those were great
days. Those were great days. Great days.
I remember you did Phil. You were on
Tony Gregory.
Lot. Tony Gregory.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's a long time. So this is 1989 when we were both about 4 years old.
Probably around about 4, but sort of had to have the mental capacity of a 50-year-old to try and deal with the stuff that was being thrown.
Oh my goodness!
Thrown at us or at me, and
you were having a lot of stuff thrown at you.
I was,
but you wrote it. You really wrote it. And the lovely thing is, I remember we did some road shows together, and then you came on the Big Breakfast and all sorts of things. And I remember being at events and just looking at you, and I used to really loudly as I possibly could, always say to everybody, nicest person. You were always, I don't want to embarrass you, but you were always, even in your really rough times, and we don't need to talk about it. You've written about it, you've talked about it, done. You were always the politest person.
Oh, thank you.
But you remembered you said hello to every cameraman, every sound person. You remembered people's names. You remembered who'd had children. And that's why I said you're the nicest person.
Well, I'm pretty bad with names now, but that's another story. But I think I do think, particularly with my dad and working in the business, and also having, when you do television particularly, and you do a TV show as an actor, it's really about the team. And not to say music doesn't have the same scope, but when you become a recording artist, as I did, and it's very much focused on you are the sort of the centre of attention. And if you're dealing with, like in Neighbours, you'd have, 80-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 5-year-olds on set. There's a sort of a whole psychological dynamic of your day-to-day routine that it requires you to sort of look out and be mindful of everyone.
But not everybody's like that.
No, true. Well, I don't know why.
Your dad's very charming. I interviewed him years ago.
My dad is charming. He can be extremely honest. He's still with us. He's 88. I spoke to him today.
How's he doing?
Yeah, he's okay. I think I think the mind is still there, definitely, but the body is tiring a little bit. And I was brought up by my dad. I don't know why. I just think never forget where you're coming from. It's all the people. I was always reminded the people you meet on the way up are also the people you meet on the way down.
Absolutely.
And I think being generous and being able to accommodate everyone and aware of people sort of helps what you're doing, really. Yeah. It helps you. I hear that. I mean, I don't know why this came into my mind as I was riding here on my push bike. I passed Madame Tussauds, and there's Harry Styles there on the left-hand side.
You were there? Are you still there?
I don't think so. I was with the Rock Circus. I was the Plan B, which was the Piccadilly Rock Circus.
I remember.
Which was done by Madame Tussauds. Luckily...
When was that? Because I bizarrely remember it. I think I was at the opening when they unveiled you.
Yeah. I've still got clips of that, or cuttings, not clips.
Oh my word! Sorry, you were saying.
I'm just thinking. There's also that wonderful, horrific waxwork. If you Google waxworks in Great Yarmouth. You should check that out to anyone that's listening if you really want to be inspired by waxworks. Go to the Great Yarmouth Waxwork Museum. There's a picture of Kylie and I, and David Beckham and Victoria.
I'm looking now. Yeah, keep talking. I'm going to look.
Anyway, I was driving past, riding along Tottenham Court Road, and Harry Styles, and I hear through people that I know that he's a very polite guy and a very decent person, and I think it really helps, And also, it doesn't just help; it should be how you just live, shouldn't we? We should be,
I totally agree. Be kind and be polite, and I'm trying to be kind about the waxwork I've just seen.
Great Yarmouth.
Well,
how's that?
Oh, Jason.
Isn't that sexy?
That's quite something.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't think it exists anymore, but to your listeners out there, you should definitely go and check that out.
Yep.
Because it's just not aspirational.
It's the hands.
It's the hands.
The hands
it's
slightly
everything.
frighten me.
It's everything. You should see Michael Jackson's.
And I don't know, thanks.
No.
That's scary enough.
Yeah, the Beatles. It's terrible.
You two aren't scary in the slightest. Actually, I saw Kylie, it was a couple of months ago, because we did a thing for the BBC, Make a Difference.
Okay.
And just, it's so lovely that the two of you, this is a really weird thing to say, you haven't changed.
Right.
But I think, because she's always so lovely to everybody. And she remembers Motormouth and, excuse me.
Oh, Gaby's just...
I've got bronchitis.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Sorry, Tom.
You do sound a bit, you sound hoarse but very sexy.
Oh, it's driving me mad.
Is it?
Right, I'll pick up again. The two of you just haven't changed. You're both, and it's like neither of you forget where you come from. I think that's what I mean.
Yeah, well, that's good. Maybe it's an Australian thing. We both started very young.
How old were you?
I was probably about 11. We did this first job together in a TV series called Skyways in Australia, which I have, talked about a lot before. We played brother and sister, ironically. And I think we come from the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. Different backgrounds, different parents. And I think, on a commercial sense, is if we're talking work-wise, going back to Neighbours finishing, or the supposed
Neighbours, now it's back,
end, that was the sort of the overriding factor of why we felt it necessary just to have that sort of small appearance at the end to pay respect to the past and to acknowledge, what that show changed our lives, and so I think. And it's funny, I don't think many performers, of a certain ilk necessarily go back. I mean,
no, I think it's great you did.
Look what Guy Pearce and his not biography, his CV of films and stuff. I mean, he wandered into that place for 2 or 3 weeks and everyone just said, completely normal, and just got on with filming scenes for Neighbours 35 years after he left. It's funny, isn't it?
But that's lovely. Yeah. That's a proper love. Yeah, but the thing about you is, I've known you all of those years, and the ups and downs that you've gone through. Mm-hmm. And there's a Sondheim song, I'm Still Here. And I know a woman always sings it. In fact, Bonnie Langford did it in the West End recently.
Okay.
But that, to me, is your song. And I'm Still Here.
Yeah.
And I love that. And you're touring.
I love Sondheim.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, Sweeney Todd is
You were brilliant in that.
I was good. I was.
You were.
I was good.
I saw it.
Did you?
Yeah, I saw that.
I loved doing it. It was a difficult choice. It's not really a sort of, I wouldn't class myself as a classical musical theatre type vocal.
Okay, you've done a few now.
But I wanted to take the challenge, and if you look at sort of, I think the interesting about, if we're just totally digressing about musical theatre in the sense that Sweeney Todd, if it's played operatic, it sort of loses its purpose in a way. It has to have a bit of rough around the edges.
Oh, yes.
If it's too tender tale, it's too big. I don't know.
The tale of Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, it's a great piece, and I did enjoy it. But theatre, 8 shows a week. Oh God.
You've done enough of it. I remember seeing you. You very kindly brought my first baby girl, who's now in her 20s, but just a bit younger than yours. But bringing her to Chitty Bang Bang.
Okay.
And she sat in the car, and she has never ever forgotten that. No, yeah. She's never ever forgotten. Those little moments, and taking her onto that stage and everything. There are some musicals and magical, so I can wax lyrical about musicals. I love them, passionately love them, and they just do something inside for me. If I go and see a musical, I feel.
Yeah.
I feel happy. I feel sad. I feel emotional. I go on that journey. And did you ever think all those years ago that you'd end up doing many musicals?
I never set out to be a musical theatre star in any way, shape or form. I mean, ironically, it's the natural progression, particularly for producers or particularly for an artist like myself. You have a huge TV profile, which is where I was back in 1990.
And to sing.
And Andrew, and singing Andrew Lloyd Webber's daughter or something, and seen, as a fan. And, he thought of, wow, you look at what he did with Michael Crawford in Phantom. It's a natural. It happens across theatre. It's.
But you are
with respect to the talent, it's also about the profile and bums on seats as well.
Yes, but you're an actor
of course,
and singer.
It's a long distance sprint, and I would certainly argue that my pedigree, in that sense, has laid the foundations to have a good musical theatre. Because for me, musical theatre comes from most importantly is a good acting.
Yes.
Because if you can't tell a story, I don't care how well you sing the song.
I agree.
You will not feel anything for a character if you can't tell the story. And that is really difficult to teach. I think you can teach people to sing if they've got a bit of confidence to hold a tune. But you can't teach people to have the presence and the ability to bring an audience in and feel emotionally connected to a story, and that's unique. But musical theatre. My dad, Chicago, when I was young. I love musical theatre. I have a love-hate relationship with it because it's hard work. It's hard to stay. It's athletic. It's disciplined. It's hard to stay.
Yes, but you're very disciplined and you're very focused.
Yeah,
I am in Strictly and Dancing on Ice.
Yeah.
I remember speaking to you when you were doing Strictly, and I think I WhatsApped you just saying the concentration. I couldn't get over your concentration, and then I interviewed you in that as well. And I wasn't teasing you about the concentration, but it was incredible. I mean, you were so focused.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
Yeah, you
need that for musical theatre.
Look, acting is probably the first, singing was the second, and I would say, dancing's been a pretty slow-burning third. But I'd just come out of Priscilla, and they approached me about doing that show, and I thought, right, I'm match fit. If I'm ever going to do it, now's the time to do it. That was 2011. And also for me, Strictly was about...
It's not that long ago.
2011, yeah.
What?
Yeah. It was, 13 years
If you'd said to me what year was that, I would have said,
6
years ago.
Yeah, crazy, man. The other thing for me with a show like that is that it only enhances what I do. So it's like a training lesson, and what a room. I've always talked about this, is that room on a Saturday night. I don't think I've ever experienced a more electric space. It's live TV. It was 12, 13 million people watching. There's Jeopardy, there's celebrity, there's athletes. Those dancers are a unique breed because they're athletes, probably first and foremost, and they're celebrities as well. And then there's this crossbreed as they become more exposed, where they want to win, and it's a really unique, and that's why it's lasted so long on television, I think. But great experience. I was very nervous on that,
You were nervous?
Yeah, I was nervous on that show.
But that's understandable. That's good.
I get nervous. I get anxious quite a lot, actually. I still get anxious going on stage.
It's interesting. I heard somebody saying this the other day. Somebody on the radio. I can't remember who said it, and I will. If I could, I'd say it. But they said the thing about nerves are that then you realise you care.
Yeah.
And I love that nearsighted feeling, the nervous excited. It means you care.
8 times a week, that anxiety I could do without sometimes, or 7. I'm trying to push that ratio down to 6.
Do you still so Rocky Horror?
Yeah, that's next.
Yeah, next again.
Yeah,
still get nervous for that?
I do, but it's very much. This is what we were talking a little bit beforehand, Gaby and I. I think I choose projects that I really comfortable in, even if I'm not feeling comfortable in now. I'm not really at that Sweeney Todd point where I'm going, push yourself, you know. And of course, one does want to push oneself, but you know, I'm mid-50s. I just want to enjoy the process. You know, recently I've taken probably a lot less bigger roles, you know, even just doing the Pharaoh and Joseph, which was a 3-4 minute job for me, was fantastic. I got this incredible adulation, and you know, I didn't have to go to physio on a Monday morning. It was perfect.
But you and
I had a life,
Lindsay,
you know.
you and Lindsay back together.
Yeah, no, it was lovely. It was
Lindsay
lovely. And I had a few vocal issues about 5-6 years ago that I've managed to sort of work around a lot. So that played a big part in my life. 2017 that was.
Yeah. But now you're match fit again.
Yeah. It was just a sort of a muscle tension that wasn't really, you know, it's I think I just pushed myself too much.
You do.
Yeah, I do.
You do that.
Yeah, I don't relax enough either.
So you're saying, talking about you want to do more and relax. You're then going off on tour. Next year.
Yes.
This is you on your own, back out on tour.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I do love to work. I have a big work ethic. I always have had. You know, I think it's really important, you know, particularly with my children, I try and set that example. And I've always worked hard. Even in my crazy 90s periods, I still kept working, you know. You sort of just set yourself goals. And this was just, you know, we'd done a tour, I think, I can't remember, the last one was during COVID, 2019, 2020, 2025, 5 years on. It gives me the opportunity to sort of produce my own show. It's sort of, you know, it gives me the opportunity to work with my band and just play old and some new songs. I'm just in control, and sometimes that's a nice thing to be.
But you know what you're doing. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah,
sometimes
you do.
I do know what I'm doing. I mean, I'm a sort of an interesting act, you know. I'm a historic, nostalgic act. But also,
that's a funny way to think of yourself.
But also, you know, through my acting and through musicals and through you know what I do, whether it's radio, I do have another completely other side too. So it's I'm an entertainer. That's what I put down on my passport. Always have done since I
love that.
And in fact, Kylie puts that down on hers. I stole that one from her.
Entertainment.
Yeah, as entertainer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's. I mean, it's funny how that word went. If I'd said to you in the 90s, "Oh, Jason, you're an entertainer," you probably would have sworn at me.
Well, no, because I have put that down when I first started flying to the UK.
But even in your crazy time when you were music, you would have. Oh, really?
Always entertainer. Always entertainer.
Love that.
From day one, it was always on the. You know, when you go into Australia or come into the UK, well, you don't do it when you come into the UK, but in Australia you have to, even with a passport, you still have to put your occupation.
It's funny because people here you don't for the UK, and people always say
no, they don't.
No, they always say, you know, when people ask me what I do, and I say, well,
what do you say?
Well, I say
entertainer.
I'm a TV presenter, radio, podcast, musical theatre. Yeah. So it doesn't. There's not a term. Okay, entertainment. That's what I do. I hopefully entertain. And actually, people go, oh, you mean like in the olden days? No, that word is people want to be entertained, no matter how it is. You know, it's different these days. It is ever changing, and television's changing, and film is changing.
It is. But I think, you know, I do still think great songs will always come through. Great television shows, great films, great stories. It's just the distribution will just continually evolve, as we were sort of, you know, talking about before, and that's good. You know, terrestrial TV. My daughter is not interested in watching television. She's just not, and that's the next generation. I've got a son who's a producer on Sunrise in Australia, and you know, they're you know, he's probably part of a new breed of kids that will be trying to see what my daughter at the age of 13, he's 23, is going to want to be watching. Do you know what I mean? So it's a different,
Does she watch Netflix, all the streamers?
Oh, I don't know what. She spends too much time on the phone. I mean, but, if I spent too much time playing Space Invaders, or Pac-Man when I was a kid, putting my 20-cent coins up on the machine, growing up. So I can't, it's just a different...
It changes.
Yeah, it's just different. We consume in a different way.
It's interesting because we were saying before... Sorry, I'm just going to cough. Sorry.
That's all right. Shit.
They say I'm going to have it for 100 days, apparently.
100 days?
Yeah, it's called the 100-day cough that everybody's got.
I've heard about this.
Oh.
I've heard about
It's not
this.
catching, though.
Right, okay. Shit.
No, I promise.
That's
it's
right.
not. I wouldn't do that.
No,
bring you in here and ruin your voice.
No, I'm fine.
So we were saying about how everyone talks about, it's not like the golden days. It is. Every day is a golden day.
Yeah.
It just changes.
Yeah. What is the golden days? That's just a bunch of old farts.
Getting
sentimental.
Yeah.
And bitter.
Yeah.
There's my phone. I'm going to turn that off.
That's all right.
That's okay.
Do you need to take it?
No, I don't.
You sure?
I won't take it. It's probably my blinds being delivered to my house.
Your blinds? What colour are they?
They'll be beige, just to be neutral.
Blinds.
Because I don't want to be too concerned about whether I've got the colour palette right. I tend to be, more in my household the one that does the sort of the flowers and the blinds and the carpets and make sure aesthetically it all looks right. Ange is the one changing the tyre on the car. She loves her football and she loves her. She's quite sort of mechanical in a way.
She's lovely. I haven't seen her for a long time, but I remember meeting her many years ago. We were at an event.
What was that one? I can't remember. You've got a good memory.
I'm like an elephant.
Jeez.
I don't remember anyone's name, but I remember meeting everybody.
I do remember faces. I'm bad with names.
Oh, I'm dreadful with names. Yeah. But I remember standing there talking to her, and she made me laugh so much because she was ripping the piss out of somebody that was
me
doing. No, it wasn't you.
It
wasn't
me.
you. And you would just. And I remember you turning around and going, shh, both of you, shh, because we were being really naughty. Yeah. I don't know why.
She's not big on celebrity, and she's not big on sort of her being.
She's
plus
normal.
One. She's not great at +1. She doesn't like that stuff. So.
She was making me laugh.
Was she?
A lot.
Yeah. Okay.
She was being. I remember who it was that she was not being very nice about, and both of us. No. It was really funny.
Okay. She wow.
She wasn't being horrible. We were just laughing a lot
right.
about something that somebody was doing.
Normally, someone probably trying to corner me with.
It was to do with what they were doing.
Yeah, probably trying to corner me at an event and me trying to
run away. Yeah. Why not? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, she's great.
You've been together a long time.
We've been together since 1998. Rocky Horror Show.
Yeah.
We met on the Rocky Horror Show in the 25th anniversary. And we're doing, when I say we, I'm doing the 50th sort of plus version of this one that's coming into town.
How come it still works so well?
Well, I think why does it work? It appeals to a very broad market. It appeals. Look, firstly, it's great songs.
Oh, it's great fun.
It's great songs. It's great fun. It's a cheeky story that appeals to sort of, those alternate musical theatre fans, and that market is so broad but so small in its content. And it is a story about being different and yet wanting to be accepted. Don't dream it, be it.
Yeah.
It's adult pantomime. It's turned into something, on various nights where the audience becomes as much part of the show. it's so well art directed in its conception. Brian Thompson, Jim Sharman, the film. It's iconic, you know. This man, you know, dressed as a sort of a transvestite, yet, you know, he's camp and masculine. It's everything.
He's very sexy.
It's sexy. It's a very sexy, glamorous type of show. And I don't know. 50 years, you know, we did in Australia, you know, and it goes off. It still goes off.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I don't know what I can say is the magic other than also it's short. Do you know what I mean? I love a short show because actually I can't stand sitting there going, if there's too much fat, give me the fillet of steak any day.
Do you produce musicals as well, don't you?
I co-produced Priscilla with a guy called Mark Goucher, you know, very much as a sort of advisory type of role. I think, you know, in a way I produce, you know, my own tours, you know, I put those sort of together a lot. So I'm aware of, you know, but I've raised finance for a few things. So, you know,
you didn't put Grease on?
No, I didn't put Grease on. No.
So you were in Grease. So Rocky Horror, I in my head, because Tom also, who's working on this, we were talking musicals before. I think Rent needs to come back, and I think you need to be in Rent.
Oh, jeez, I don't know Rent.
Some beautiful songs. Promise me you'll listen to their soundtrack because it's really lovely. I think I'd like to see the producers back.
Yeah, that's one show.
You'd be good in that.
Yeah, that's one show I probably would be good. That's probably one show I would be good in, actually. It's one show that is it. The problem is these days, you know, you've got to be a little bit careful, you know. There's a whole world out there that's changed and...
Oh, there's some un-PC bits in it,
You know, and I think, you know, it's a minefield out there. You know,
maybe.
to try and listen, I think the world has gone slightly nuts.
It's rather frightening. Actually, that's why we need entertainers. You know, that's why we need shows like yours. That's why the tours, your music and all of that. All of you guys, you're vital because there's so much, you know, every day you turn on the radio, put on the television, you read a newspaper, however you read this stuff, you just sometimes want to say, I can't take any more. It's really frightening what's happening around the world. And that's why entertainment now is more vital than ever. And it's interesting, there's people saying about career paths. Years ago, when I was at school and I said I want to be a TV presenter, you what? But now people say I want to be in the entertainment industry and they're saying do it because that's what we all need.
Yeah.
We need people in it.
It's communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that needed to be corrected that are being corrected, you know, which is a good thing. But I think it's an elastic band and it's sort of stretched a bit too far and it probably might snap or not. I don't know.
Oh, let's hope not.
You know, the future, you know, a lot of it's coming from phones and, you know, and how we digest communication. You know, it's I mean, you know, and again with young daughters and young son, I don't know what the future holds, but listen, I think as long as you keep fit and healthy, and your mind is, you know, you keep, you know, I'm a real believer in that, you know, a healthy mind, physical fitness and mental health sort of really
and singing.
Singing is really good for you. You look at the monks, the Buddhist monks, and you know, you look at chanting, you look at, you know, church gospel, you look at, and you're right, you know. I think one of the things, Gaby, I have to say, and, you know, in my life, which I'm very lucky to do, is, you know, I have this sort of, you know, moment in time, there's catalogues of songs, whether it's theatre or whether it's the pop songs, and I can go out and actually relive those moments, you know. So, and to sing, you're absolutely right. Breathing, you know, so I feel very young and very, you know, relevant in my own world. You
are.
You know, so, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not irrelevant, but I'm saying I feel, you know, I feel very lucky in the sense that there's always that next show, there's always that next audience. That also can be quite a trap too. You know, it's quite addictive. You know, it's a drug to go out there and get a round of applause. You know, I mean, in Rocky Horror, I'm a rock star. Yeah. At the age of 56. I always wanted to be in a rock band, and I've got the band. And now I'm just in a musical theatre, so it's fitted into my sort of format. So I feel, you know, probably more so even than when I did it in 1998. I feel, you know, a rock star. It's great.
Carry on being the rock star.
And now I'm going to do a rock star on my own tour. So it's sort of, you know, yeah, it's interesting. I watch, and I see some actors, particularly, you know, I see a lot of my contemporaries and people that I respect and admire, quite serious actors wanting to become rock stars because they're wanting that adulation. Because to be honest, when you're shooting 3.5 minutes a day on a film set, it can be sexy and great and fun, but it's not that. You know, there's something about music, and it's the closest human beings have to magic. That's what I believe. It's the closest we can get to being a magician without being a magician.
Well, you are, and you do spread magic, and you do spread joy. It's really interesting that very often, you know, I'll say to the family, or I'll say to friends or whatever, what are you doing today? I said, I'm going to go and do the podcast, or who's on? And I said that you were on, and I said it to people, mutual people that we worked with, and I go, oh, I love him. To family, oh, I love him. To friends, oh, I love him. You have that very unique thing that there's not anybody that doesn't hold you in their heart, if they've met you, if they haven't met you. And that is magic, and that's what you've got. Jason Donovan, thank you.
Well, let's ring my wife and see whether she feels the same way. Or my daughter, my son. I'm sure they might have a different opinion, but Gaby, always lovely to be here with you.
Bless you.
Gaby Roslin Podcast.